So Caitlin Clark got compared to an all-time great, and people are losing their minds. As expected, people are losing their minds because if you praise, and like it's not in the real world, by the way, like if you go into the real world, like talking about basketball with people, a lot of people are just talking about how great Caitlin Clark and how great Angel Reese are. It's only when you go to the cesspit that is Twitter that this crap happens. So obviously we've all seen the interview with Lisa Bluter. Basically, all Lisa Bluter has said is that Maya Moore was Caitlin Clark's idol, and that Caitlin Clark is going to be an idol to so many kids, which is, again, it's like calling the sky blue or the grass green. I mean, actually, I'm unbelievably badly colorblind, so maybe it's not like me saying that. But before we get on to, if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. Thank you guys so much for 12,500 subscribers. Like, thank you so much. Either way, but like some of the things about Maya Moore, and I will say, like if you were looking on Twitter, some people are trying to discount what Maya Moore has done. She's one of the best ever. Like, look, she's one of the best ever. And the fact that obviously her retiring in her prime, like for activism reasons, is commendable. Like, again, a lot of people say they want to do it, and she did it. A lot of people say they would do it, and she did it. So you can't knock someone for giving up everything for what they believe in. So, look, she was unbelievable. Like Maya Moore, you can't forget she's a 4-time WNBA champion, 1 Finals MVP, 2014 regular season MVP, 6-time All-NBA, or 7-time All-NBA in 8 years, and then a 6-time All-Star, which is so impressive. And then again, when she was in UConn, she won 2 championships. But a lot of people are going mad, being like, "Oh, she was a winner. She's a winner. She just won. You can't compare Caitlin Clark to her because she lost." Do you not like understand? You don't need to win. And this is a big American problem. This is a huge problem in America. This is not something you'll see in any other country. Like, for example, and it's getting a little bit into like football, which is dumb. It's the dumb Americanized argument. When it comes to, like, obviously Maya Moore, unbelievable. When it comes to someone like Clark, the ability to drag that Iowa team, who had no right to even make an Elite Eight, like if you take Caitlin Clark off that team, they might not beat Holy Cross in the first round of the tournament. Like, the second best player on the floor that day was Breanna Power Cassidy, who 5 years ago was playing for DCU Mercy in Ireland. And she was the second best player on the floor that day. So, and they might not have won that game without Caitlin Clark. But you got some really good players on that Iowa team. And great, Kate Martin's a fantastic role player. She's absolutely fantastic. So were likes of Gabby Marshall and stuff. But like, there's a reason they weren't top 50 recruits. This was a bang average college Division I team with a superstar who dragged them to 2 national championship games. And not only that, on the way, she beat the undefeated South Carolina, stopping them go 3 straight undefeated seasons. That South Carolina, like, couple of years would have been considered the greatest college team maybe of all time. Like, they would have went 3 for 3 undefeated seasons. That's wild. That's absolutely wild. And the only reason that wasn't there was because of Caitlin Clark, because she averaged a 40-point triple-double. She scored a 40-point, I think it was a 40-point triple-double. She had 40 anyway. So you can't call someone a loser, and then it's being like, oh yeah, she's a loser. Her team lost in the final stage. Do you know how many points Caitlin Clark scored in the first quarter of the championship game? 18. She had 18 in the first quarter of the biggest game of her life. Like, that's, and then obviously tired out. They threw a whole bunch of bodies on her and she got tired. If you want to call someone a loser for losing that game against a freaking God squad, cool. Then you're just an idiot. But at the end of the day, like, for the people being like, oh, it doesn't matter, she's lost everything. But you pick and choose. How many gold medals does she have? You're going to say, oh, you know what, Maya Moore has all these gold medals, Team USA. How many gold medals does Caitlin Clark have for Team USA? She has 3. She has 3. So if you want to pick and choose and just say college. But like, no one's ever called, no one called Zion Williamson a loser coming into the NBA. Nobody called Anthony Edwards a loser. His team was losing. No one was calling, to be fair, people did actually call Anthony Edwards a loser, in fairness. But nobody was talking about how Karl Anthony Towns was a loser and that Frank Kaminsky for beating him was the real winner. Like, Nobody's called. Obviously, I'm not saying this about Maya Moore. Maya Moore was one of the 2 or 3 best players on every single one of those championship teams. She was the best player on that UConn team. But nobody's out here calling Patrick McCaw a winner because he won his first 3 years in the league. Like, at the end of the day, sometimes people that play winning basketball winners, like for example, Aaron Gordon plays winning basketball, but he didn't get the opportunity to do so until he went to Denver. Drew Holiday, there might not be a more winning, there might be not be more a bigger winner in the NBA than Drew Holiday, but for the first 12 years of his career, he was on terrible teams. Is he not a winner then because he's on bad teams? No. No, at the end of the day, Maya Moore is probably the greatest winner there's ever been in the history of basketball. But like, to go at someone for comparing Maya Moore to Caitlin Clark and being like, oh, Maya Moore won. Like, this is basically it. Idolize Maya Moore. Maya Moore meets Caitlin Clark and supports her. Caitlin Clark has tons of kids idolizing her. And it's not even that. It's literally like, that's why Caitlin Clark does all the not all the interviews, does all the like signing. She waits back on every single game to sign everything, to like see the kids that are there to watch her play. Because that's Caitlin Clark's, one of her biggest ambitions as a player is to grow the sport of women's basketball and inspire kids like Maya Moore and other players did to her. Obviously, Maya Moore was her hero. So what Lisa Bluter's saying is completely on the money. And if you look at these post engagements, it's the only place you'll hear this on Twitter. Maya Moore comparison with 0 NCAA championships. I'm sorry, I'm just saying, regardless of Gino recruiting her, if she went to Notre Dame, she probably wins a championship, like she was meant to go to Notre Dame. If she, after her freshman year, decided, I'm going to go to South Carolina, after her freshman year, I'm going to team up with Aaliyah Boston, because obviously Cardoso came in. If she decided, I'm going to go to South Carolina after her freshman year, she goes and wins three NCAA championships. What's the knock on her then? No, she stayed in Iowa and she nearly won it. Like, this is idiot. Maya Moore was a winner, not a crybaby ass loser. Idiot. I don't really care. Wait, people are mad about this. It's clear she's talking about how Clark is inspiring the next generation, not literally comparing on-court accolades in games and goatness. I'm gonna say this is controversial. I don't think, as far as, like, obviously, look, what Maya Moore did in the WNBA, Caitlin Clark has not replicated that. But like, Maya Moore's in that GOAT conversation for winning. Like, if Caitlin Clark wins two championships, 2 MVPs, 2 Finals MVPs, and is like 6-time All NBA, All WNBA in her first 6 or 7 years, then there can be a comparison on the totality of the career. But if we're talking about pure college career, like, Maya Moore lost 2 NCAA championships with UConn. She lost 2 championships with UConn. I know she won 2, but she also lost 2. What Caitlin Clark did with Iowa is as impressive as what Breanna Stewart did with UConn. It's as impressive as what Maya Moore did for UConn in different ways. Obviously, Breanna Stewart's team was a lot better than the team, was the best college team ever, her 4 years. And she's one of the best college players ever. But it's just like when people are talking about, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, like, it's why Jimmy Butler, for example, him leading a team to the final that has no right to be in the finals gets so much more praise than, for example, let's just say LeBron, when he would lead, or why LeBron got more praise in 2018 than he did in 2017, and the outcome was the exact same. It is more impressive to be the reason why your team gets to a final than being on a super team sometimes and winning. Or not even more impressive. It's impressive in a different way. It is impressive in a different way. And nobody in the history of women's basketball has done what Caitlin Clark has done. But at the same time, nobody in the history of women's basketball has done what Maya Moore has done. And if you want to compare these two as far as their impact on the game, great. I think that there is a comparison there. I think there's a comparison there as far as the growth of the game. And I think Maya Moore, of all people, is probably welcoming Caitlin Clark. Like, Maya Moore is not does not seem to be one of the people that want to tear down the WNBA by any means necessary. So it is a weird comparison because it's like comparing apples to oranges as far as everything about their career. Like, if you want to just look at the Wikipedia accolades, obviously Maya Moore is one of the greatest ever. But if you want to just talk about college careers, even if you want to look at accolades, obviously Breanna Stewart is more. But if you want to talk about greatness as impact. If you want, I don't think if you put Maya Moore or Breanna Stewart onto that Iowa team, they make 2 straight championship games. They don't. College versions of them. They don't. But I'm not sure if you put Caitlin Clark on Breanna Stewart's UConn team. I still think they win, but I don't think they might not win 4 in a row. She might not have won 4. Was it 3 college player of the years? Like, she might not have had as good a career being on that team. So, greatness, you can't define greatness based on accolades. You can't define greatness based on purely impact. Every person's definition of greatness is different, and every person's definition of what the greatest of all time is different. So, arguing for Caitlin Clark to be the greatest college player of all time, there's a legitimate argument there because, yeah, she scored more points than everyone else. She's 3rd all-time in assists. She led the league in assists for 3 years in a row. She lead the league in scoring 3 years in a row, or lead the league in scoring 3 years in a row. She beat one of the greatest. She beat maybe one of the 3 or 4 greatest college teams of all time in that South Carolina team in the tournament and dropping 40. As far as individual performances in college basketball, you could argue that 3 of the top 10 performances, Louisville, South Carolina, and the LSU game this year, were all from Caitlin Clark. So there's plenty of reasons why you could argue Caitlin Clark was the greatest college player of all time. And obviously she's new in her WNBA career. To compare her to her totality of her career and say she was greater than Maya Moore is just wrong. And I don't think Lisa Bluder said that. I don't think Lisa Bluder has said that whatsoever. Y'all still chose to skip that to say she's not Maya Moore as a player. At this point in her career, she is. Like, in my opinion, what Caitlin Clark is doing as a rookie guard has never been seen before. And in 7 years' time, we'll be able to assess whether or not Caitlin Clark is a greater player than Maya Moore. I don't know if she'll have the accolades, but she might not have the team accolades, but there's a chance that she has the individual accolades to surpass Maya Moore. There's a chance that happens. But at the end of the day, I think she's in that conversation for greatest college player of all time. And with the way she started her WNBA career, she's on track to at least eventually be in that conversation. Like, it would not surprise me if she's in that Breanna Stewart, Maya Moore top 15 player of all time conversation. But right now, obviously, it's jumping the gun saying that. But to say that it's crazy to compare the impact to Maya Moore, when in reality, the impact on the sport itself, no one has ever had the impact on the sport itself that Caitlin Clark has had. Obviously, just Maya Moore is one of the most impressive people to play in the WNBA. That's not a question. But comparing the impact on the court from Caitlin Clark to Maya Moore, especially from Lisa Bluder basically just saying that is a lot of the reason why Caitlin Clark does what she does is because of how much she idolized Maya Moore, is crazy. And it does a disservice to Caitlin Clark. It does a disservice to Maya Moore herself. Because Maya Moore, like, things were bigger than basketball to Maya Moore. And I'm not going to lie, I would say her being the inspiration to one of the greatest rookies we've ever seen, one of the greatest college players we've ever seen, is probably as big as basketball to Maya Moore. And the fact that being brought up by Lisa Bluder has just caused people to insult Caitlin Clark on behalf of Maya Moore, that does a disservice to Maya Moore. Just like insulting player, just like the people, and people are like, oh, there's never both sides. It's like, there is both sides. If you can see it, there's no player that gets more hate than Caitlin Clark, but there's also no player that gets more praise than Caitlin Clark, and that includes Angel Reese. The two of them, like, people that don't even know basketball are going at them. But at the end of the day, it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. Talk about basketball when it comes to this. Go call Christy Sides incompetent. Do something. Let's pick a common enemy. Let's go after, rather than going after Caitlin Clark, can you not just go after like Jason Whitlock or something? Can we not just go after Whitlock or like go after Clay Travis or something? Can we pick a common enemy? Can people all pick a common enemy that actually has a reason and not Caitlin Clark, who just wants to play basketball, inspire the next generation, stays on after games to sign interviews and pretend she's a horrible person just because she only dropped 18 points in the first quarter against South Carolina last year, and unfortunately they had a 6'1" center trying to guard Cardoso. Anyway, yeah, it is what it is.